38 starters in the Aussie Male 500. Garth Tander will lead the field away in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Russell Ingall alongside him. Longhurst will start the Caltex Haviland Ford. Radicic, the Shell Helix Ford. Then it's Scape, Bow, Richards, Larkham, Seaton and Paul Wheel completing the top 10.
Just incredible quality here, isn't there? Johnson and Johnson, Baird and Wills, Ellery and Stokel. Good performance from Ellery there. Kelly and Pretty, second to the Holden Racing Team Commodores. Morris and Kevin Schwantz making his return to V8 Supercars. Forbes and Clellan. John Clellan rejoining the V8 pack.
Dean Canto, the man who took out the Konica V8 lights very recently, will line up beside Rally Ace Neil Bates for Ford Tickford Racing. John Faulkner and Adam Macro, they'll be a strong combination in the Team Asia Online Commodore. Jones and Mazira a little further back than they would like in the Aussie Male Ford, and Terry Finnegan and Darren Hossack in the second of the Kmart Commodores.
Nash and McConville, Dulman and Cotter out of 14. Christian Murchison and Luke Yulden, new Formula 4 champion, having their first set out in V8s. Romano and James Brock, son of Peter, having his first run of the V8 Supercar, will start out at 28. Peters and Bates in the colour scan Ford. Salmon and Damien White, another one of the Fords back there. Track, Alan Jones makes his return, and Ashby and Reed there as well.
We go back to row 17. Derek Van Zelm and Christian de Goston. Jeff Full and Philip Skyfleet alongside them. Then it's Wayne Wakefield and Ryan McLeod, the two guys who battle it out in the Konica V8 lights, have teamed up for this one. Ross Halliday and Adam Wallace at the back of the grid.
Well, what a fantastic sight. Front row of the grid there, Queensland 500. Garth Tander, an outstanding performance in the three single lap, single car qualifiers they've had this year. He has taken pole position. He has become the new hot lap specialist in V8 Supercar. Boy, he really gets stuck into it. He loves that sort of challenge, and he does it to the absolute maximum. He's on pole position as the field weave backwards and forwards. Last lap to check and make sure everything's right before they blast off for 500 kilometres. In-car cameras, let's run through them. Brett Jones in the Aussie Male Racing Ford. They have not had a practice they would like to remember. It's been very, very difficult for the team. Hopefully they've got their problems sorted out now as they face the starter.
Jones will carry the Carlton and United onboard camera, one of several we have here this weekend at Queensland Raceway.
Brad Jones teaming up with Thomas Mazira, former Bathurst winner, will sit alongside the Albury-based driver as the field work their way around this 3.1 kilometre circuit. Mark Larkham, Mitre 10 in-car camera. This guy's been impressive throughout practice and qualifying. Got the very experienced Jeffrey Bradham alongside him. Bradham, of course, drove for the FTR team last year. And considering he doesn't do very many miles at all in race cars, it's incredible the way he can jump into these cars and dial himself in so quickly.
Exceptionally warm conditions, around 52 to 57 degrees inside the car.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be very interesting the first couple of laps. A lot of the guys are saying they're having a lot of trouble getting the heat into the front tyres. We saw Seaton on his qualifying lap nearly go off on turn one. The young Murchison went off, Jordan went off, and so it's very difficult to get temperature into the front tyres around. It takes about 3 or 4 laps to get the fronts up to temperature. So watch, especially after the end of the first lap, you watch turn one. I think you'll find 2 or 3 people off in the dirt.
I'm actually expecting quite a few safety car periods here. We've seen throughout practice and qualifying a lot of cars spearing off into the scenery. What a difficult track. It seems quite simple. It's not a particularly technical circuit, the drivers will tell you, but gee, it catches a few out, particularly under braking. Some very high-speed braking situations here. So it's a very challenging layout over 500 Ks. Let's check it out on the Ford Livet race analysis. There's 38 starters on the grid, 161 laps or just under 500 kilometres. We've got 3 compulsory pit stops, 2 for fuel and 1 for brakes. Between laps 48 and laps 120 for your pads. And the 2 fuel stops, well, they can start after lap 2. And of course, last year's winners are on the front row of the grid here. Perkins and Ingall. Russell Ingall will take the start.
Fantastic field, 38 cars and some incredible depth and real quality in terms of the driver pairings. There's Paul Radicic in the Shell Helix Ford. He will start from grid position 4 along with his co-driver for this race, former Privateers champion Cameron McLean.
Tony Longhurst tops up some fluids and they're going to be getting through some of that today. These cars, very high ambient temperature here. It's been hot all week. And as you hear Temperatures in excess of 50 degrees Celsius inside those cars. It's a real sweat box. Drivers push to the limit. And pit crews here too get their chance to hit out. They're going to be under a lot of pressure today. Every second you lose in pit lane, very difficult for the teams to make up on the track. John Bower in the Caterpillar Ford. He's been fast here on occasions. He's had a good qualifying too in the top 6. They may be one to watch today.
Hoping for a change of fortune compared to last year. They had a disastrous run in the Queensland 500. Want to put that behind them.
I was talking to John before. He's got bad trouble with his radio, so let's hope it doesn't impair him too bad.
A stoush between Holden and Ford. The Aussie Male 500 at Queensland
Tander.
Raceway. We're away. Garth Tander. Russell smokes them off the line in the Castrol Commodore, but Tander got the power to the ground and he's away ahead of the Enforcer as they swing into turn 1 for the first time. The Rat has gotten around Tony Longhurst and slotted the Shell Helix Ford up to 3rd.
Everyone holds their breath as this big pack, 38 V8s in all, thunder through turn 1. Magnificent sight there, the big crowd at Queensland Raceway for the Aussie Male 500. They come out through turn 2 and thunder down the back straight for the first time. There's a second of the Holden Racing Team Commodores. Nathan Pretty and Todd Kelly a little bit further back in the pack. Hopefully everyone can get through cleanly.
So far, so good. It's
Garth Tander leads them out. Russell Ingall in second place. Look at that. Great sight there. Looks like it's a relatively clean start to the Aussie Male 500. It's going to be interesting to watch these first laps. Who is going to set the pace?
I think everybody's really seems to be using their head, don't they? Be staying out of trouble. It's a long, long race, and you don't win it in the first couple of laps. But having said that, you know, somebody goes off, takes somebody else off. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
I think you'll find the pace is going to be quite frantic in these opening laps. John Faulkner gets up on the ripple strip there. Now Scape looking for a move down the inside on Longhurst, and he shuts the door. Stephen Richards in behind them as well. So a couple of people looking for passing moves there. Tander is definitely the pace setter, and it seems to be a quick pace.
Yep, just watch that first lap, a 1:17.43 standing lap for Tander. That's pretty quick considering they went from a standing start. Opening pace, a lot of predictions. They're going to be operating around the 1:12, 1:13 second bracket, maybe mid-12s. We'll see very quickly as these laps start to unfold. These cars are carrying full tanks of fuel. It really does affect the balance of the cars in these opening laps. Hope they can settle down to a nice pace. Mark Scape there really filling the mirrors of the Caltex Haviland Ford. Tony Longhurst having his most competitive season ever in V8 supercar racing. He's right in the middle of this battle.
Yeah, it wasn't about to open the door for him, was it?
No, kept the door shut. So there's the order at the bottom of your screen on your Shell Helix race score.
Tell you what, that thing of Longhurst really accelerates good out. Oh boy, it's Stephen Ellery.
Yep, he's spun around there. He was starting the race, teaming up with multiple Australian Gold Star champion Paul Stokel in this one, and they were hoping for some good things in the Super Cheap Ford on Friday. They were the second fastest car. They stuck a brand new set of rubber on it, went right to the top of the times for a period there. Very quick, in fact, and hoping for good things on home turf.
Puts him right to the back of the field, the Queenslander, and they're still running door to door back in the pack here, sorting out their positions.
Oh, no! Message! Oh,
wow.
Wow.
It's an early stop. Lap 2 completed by a race leader.
Now, I wonder if there's something going wrong here because he's not stopped at the pit bay. Could this be a stop-go of some sort?
Oh, it is, absolutely.
Well, I wonder if he was pinged for jumping the start.
Wow.
Haven't heard any information from race control yet. That was definitely a stop-go penalty, and that puts him right down. There's
Ellery with all smoke coming off.
Just limping down the main straight with some damage to the car. That just shows how far back in the field Paul Radicic has fallen. He's right at the back. He's got a lot of work to do straight away.
Looks like problems there. He just managed to get around Paul Romano, the car he's sharing with Peter Brock's son Jamie this weekend. So dramas for that car on only the 3rd lap. Radicic virtually at the back of the pack for jumping the start. He has been given a stop-go penalty and now has all that good work to do again.
Well, that's really tough. That really puts you behind the 8 ball from the start. So
when there's a massive field like this to get to, God, what a nightmare.
Yeah, so it hasn't started well for the top Shell car in the field. Paul Radicic now has got it all to do in front of him. Let's have a look on the Shell Helix replay base.
That's Paul Morris. What's going on here? A little bit of a touch. Oh, yeah, it's Morris at the inside of Ellery. Can't really say it was anyone's fault, but we know why he went off.
It's amazing you can get guys swapping paint this early in a 500-kilometre race.
Yeah, like I'm with you.
Pace they're currently doing, Mark, as you predicted, 1:12s. We are only on the 4th lap of 161, but they're all the top 10 at least in the 1:12 bracket.
The really impressive thing earlier on, Mark Scafe did a full unbroken 30-lap run in that Holden Racing Team Commodore. His last lap at the end of that test was an 11.7. He was under 1 minute 12. And that is an incredibly strong race package if they can keep that going.
Well, it's a testament also to Bridgestone when you consider the same tyres they run here as they would run in Canberra, you know, to deal with the ground temperature of 8 degrees as against a ground temperature of 40-odd degrees.
Now keep in mind the pit window for that compulsory brake pad change opens at lap 48. So I think a lot of these guys will be wanting to at least stay in the cars till then and hope for a safety car period. Get into the pits after lap 48 and get that brake pad change done as soon as they can. Mark Larkham in car, sitting back in the pack there, picking up the race rhythm. He's looking good and strong at the moment. Just where he'd like to be. Let's see how the other players sort out. Let's see if some sort of race pace starts to emerge. We're 4 laps into this one. A 1:11.89 for Tander. That time he's dropped into the 1:11s. So Tander pushing hard. Ingles going with him too. Only a few hundredths of a second between our leaders that time around. Oh, here we go.
Paul Morris is in the pits after that altercation, obviously.
Some sort of damage.
Yep. The altercation with the Super Chief Autos Ford, and they're checking the car out. Let's go to Grant Denyer.
Yeah, the boys have just come down here. They've checked the alignment of the right-hand side, so obviously with that bit of contact there, it could be steering quite skew-if. Bit of damage in the door panel, but it looks like it's just all incident-related.
That's rotten luck for Paul Morris and Kevin Schwantz, the 1993 500cc world champ. This is a brand new car for this team. It's actually the first ever car that the Holden Racing team built in terms of a VT. They have purchased it from Mark Poole. You may remember it in John Deere Racing colours, but not what they were hoping for. They have been setting some very quick times in that car this week.
Speaking about quick times, the fastest man on the track at the moment is Russell Ingall, a 1 minute 11.85. That's even quicker than Tander. So he'll be pushing hard. This is the second of the Castrol Commodores, Christian Murchison, and the recently crowned Australian Formula Ford champion, Luke Yilden. Both stars in their respective categories of open wheelers, getting their first run in V8 supercars.
Murcho's at the wheel at the moment, the young 19-year-old from Western Australia. Recently crowned the Rookie of the Year in Formula Holden terms and opened the season, if you like, by winning the support races in Formula 4 at the Australian Grand Prix.
Both him and Luke Yilden were saying how difficult it is to get temperature into the front tyres. They both went off at turn 1, and I said, what did Larry say? And he said, no, he really didn't say anything. We were very surprised. It was, and they were very complimentary about Larry Perkins, saying that, you know, all his experience and everything, and he was just giving them lots of hints and tips on what to do and what not to do. And he said, just stay out of trouble.
Here's Paul Radisich carving his way through the field after that rotten stop-go penalty.
I just hope it doesn't use up his tyres too fast, because now he's got to really lean on them, pushing his way through the traffic. You end up perhaps not running the ideal line and getting the car into a nice smooth rhythm. He's got to dodge and dart and move around a fair bit, so that's probably going to be harder on this car. But hopefully he can continue this pace and get himself back into a competitive position before these first round of pit stops start.
Now we get word from our guys in timing that he's currently in 30th position and around about 24 seconds off our leader, Garth Tander. Tander leads the way from Russell Ingall, separated by half a second, those two. Then it's Tony Longhurst, Mark Skaife, Stephen Richards in the Kmart Commodore, Mark Larkham, John Bowe. Paul Wheel is up to 8th position, Stephen Johnson 9th, and Glenn Seaton completes your 10 at the moment.
Not sure what's going on with his drink straw there. It doesn't look like it's attached to any sort of liquid source at the moment. I'll have to look at that again, but it looks like he may be running dry there as well. So that's the case. He's going to be severely dehydrated by the time he gets to the end of this shift as well.
Oh, look at this.
They're pushing hard in the Pertec Falcon, and a more competitive run this weekend than he has of late. Found himself 12th fastest, teamed with new Formula Holden champion Simon Wills. So the order at the moment, Garth Tander just half a second in front of Russell Ingall. It's a great battle for the lead there. Then it's 1.3 seconds back to Tony Longhurst. Here's the Derek Van Zelm, Christian de Gosten car.
That looks like something coming out of the diff or gearbox or something, because
yeah, that's a real shame.
Yeah, really.
Derek's become a bit of a race car fabricator in his own right. Built the car for Thomas Mazzero. All there's problems under there.
Major oil leak at the front, actually. I thought it was the rear, and it's just going through running. Have to be careful, you know, with fire in a situation like this, because the pits are absolutely chock-a-block with fuel stands. And
well, Christian is at the wheel, and he had high hopes this weekend. This is his first V8 supercar drive for 2000, and he's had some good experience. Drove a Supra at Bathurst in the GTP3 hour. He's had lots of experience in Commodore Cup, but what a rotten start in terms of V8 supercar racing.
They're tipping a lot of foam into that car, Grant, Daniel.
Down here, the car has caught fire. It must be just a bad oil leak underneath the car. Looks like it's leaping from this. I can't really actually see, but it has caught fire. They've whacked the fire extinguishers in the engine bay to try and put it out. They're still working on it right now. So it's a terrible exit for them.
Trouble is, everything's so hot under there, you only need a little bit of oil, and straight away you got flames in temperature like this.
Tander's just dropped it back to a 112.
Yep.
They're just in the low 12s at the moment. That's a red hot pace, considering these cars are running the heaviest fuel load that they will. So Garth Tander pushing hard in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. This is a very strong combination. They were in a winning position in this race last year until that disastrous final stop. They had problems with the brake pad change. It really took them out of contention. Hopefully they won't have a repeat of that today. And Bargwana and Tander very evenly matched on lap times. They're a very strong driving combination.
They haven't had the most time some of their rivals, Mark, in the lead up to this race. They actually broke a camshaft during the course of practice on Friday, and they had to sit out virtually one of the sessions. So despite that limited track time, they've got a very good setup. I know both Bargs and Garth Tander are very impressed with it. Those of you keeping an eye on Paul Radisic's progress, he is now up to 24th position. Here's Russell Ingall, the enforcer, doing great things in second place at the moment. And of course, don't forget, they won this race last year.
Yeah, Longhurst is putting them in. He's pulled back 0.2 of a second in the last 2 laps. So see visually. You can see visually, that's pretty good. Yeah, and I said it verbally.
Under brakes at the end of the
training school.
10 laps down in the Queensland Aussie Male 500. Tony Longhurst in the Caltex Haviline Falcon. And boy, he's enjoying having this new
lease of life,
teammate, David Bernard. He's been pushing him very hard. Tony says he's relishing the challenge. Here's the big Kev Commodore. It's back on the track. Paul Morris and Kevin Schwantz, former world motorcycle champion. So it's good to see they're back on the track, but it was unfortunate that tangle early in the race with Ellery. Not the sort of thing you want to see at the start of a 500k grind. They're 6 laps down now after that pit stop.
Paul's been giving Kevin a fair amount of time in this car. Barry Sheen mentioned at the top of the telecast that Kevin's last race was around 12 months ago in a NASCAR. He stepped straight into a V8 supercar and was pretty much on the pace straight away. And Paul, when they arrived at the circuit here on Friday, said, no, I'll sit back. I've had some miles in the car during testing, and he gave Kevin around about 70% of the time to really get right up to speed in the big Kev Commodore.
Yeah, it's a smart move. Quite often when you bring drivers in who haven't had a lot of track time, they really struggle throughout the weekend, but if you give them the most laps that you can, it's always going to be better for the team.
That gap between Garth Tander and Russell Ingall has closed. It is now down to 4.4 seconds. It was out as much as 6.8, or 0.68 rather, of a second. It's now down to 0.4 of a second. So gradually the enforcer's reeling him in.
It's going to be interesting when they start getting lapping people. That's when we're going to see some fun and games.
Mark Skate just sitting 1.1 seconds behind Tony Longhurst, back there in 4th place. So he's taking a nice, cool approach to the opening laps of this race.
It's early days in the Aussie Male 500. Right now, Tander is leading the way. Russell Ingall in tow. Tony Longhurst, the first of the Fords. Then it's Mark Skate, Stephen Richards, Mark Larkham, John Bow, and Stephen Johnson in the Shell Helix 17 Ford. Paul Wheel doing a sensational job in 9th position. And it's Seaton, Baird, Ritter, McDougall, and Bates. Back with more on the other side of this. Longhurst getting sideways on the exit of that corner, and that allows Russell Ingall to snap back through in the Castrol Commodore. And while those two are battling away, that has allowed Tander to pull clear.
That's a right old battle, these two, isn't it? It seems that Longhurst thing is a lot better on the brakes into the last right-hander before the start and finish, and I don't know why it seems to have settled down a bit now.
Yeah, that's pumped out a bit of a gap. 1.5 seconds between Tander and Ingall at the moment. Tander still running in the low 12s, 1 minute 12.3 that time around, so he's setting the pace. Everyone's going with him. First 7 or 8 cars running in the 12s.
Radis is up to 19th now. He's done well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's really going to be check his lap times. You see him on the timing monitor. He's been working hard, picking his way through that traffic. There's the Rodney Forbes car.
In fact, Paul Radisich is just ahead of him there, as you mentioned, Mark. And you can see that Forbes is continuing to battle away. He just in behind him, Matthew White, one of the real strong guns from the Konica V8 Lights. Radisich is now up to 17th position, just one behind Brad Jones.
And his fastest lap, Radishich's fastest lap, is only 1/10 of a second slower than the fastest lap by Ingle.
Matthew White and Terry Wyhoon, the top-placed V8 Lights team, sitting in there. I think going well at the moment. Keep an eye on them throughout the day. Here's Radisich, though, continuing his charge through the pack after a penalty, serving a stop-go penalty for jumping the start.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Look at
Well,
you see the pipe there. I can't see.
Looks like it's floating around. It might be attached, but if it's not, it's going to be very hard work inside that car.
Yeah, especially if he doesn't know, he's sucking away thinking it's got to pick up in a minute.
Well, they took the unusual step, I guess, prior to this race of deciding to disconnect a cooling system that Paul Radisich has had specially built for him by Revolution Race Gear to try and keep him cool during the course of this race. They decided actually not to use that.
Why is that?
The reason they thought was it would slow them down during the course of pit stops, changing all the gear over between himself and Cameron McLean.
Be clear and simple onboard telemetry. See your road speed on the left-hand side of the screen, your engine revs on the right, brake applications in the middle, and there's your gear changes as well. Hard work for Paul Radisich in the Shell number 18 Ford, but he's the fastest man on the track at the moment. He's just dipped into the 11s, a 1:11.72. That's the fastest lap of the race so far, so he is really pushing on.
What he could really do with Mark is a nice safety car, couldn't he, really, you know, to close it all up a bit.
Being told that the track temperature has dipped slightly since the commencement of this race. It's gone from 41 degrees to 37, so maybe that's the reason why we're seeing Radisich able to set those sort of times, not to mention the way he's attacking the race.
Oh, look at lock up there from JB.
So there it is, confirmation of that, a 1:11.72 on lap 16. So Radisich really got his head down now, trying to claw that way back to the front of the pack. Be clear and simple in-car camera. You can see that black dot above the windscreen of the Caterpillar Ford. That's where the camera is. Gives you a panoramic view. Queensland Raceway's John Bowe and the Caterpillar team sitting competitively at the moment in the top 10. He's in 10th position, in fact, getting passed by Craig Baird on that lap. So John Bowe just sitting at the tail of the top 10, a 1:13.96 for the Caterpillar Ford. Our race leader's just on a 1:12.3. So Tander consistently very, very quick at the front of this pack. His times have just been hovering around that low 1:12 bracket.
It's still on between Longhurst and Ingle.
This is the battle for second place, and it's an absolute beauty.
It's going to suit Garth down to the ground, this will, of course, because while you got this, you just slow each other up all the time.
Well, that's right.
You watch Siffy at the end of this little straight here. Longhurst was really good on the.
There he goes.
I don't know why. You know, it's obviously you.
Oh no!
Yeah, he's done that 3 or 4 times. I don't know whether Ingle's got any kind of brake problem or whatever, or whether it just happens to be Tony's favourite braking place.
As you said, that gap is now 2.2 seconds between Tony Longhurst and Garth Tander, who leads this race. So this battle between Ingle and Longhurst is really helping Garth Tander all the way.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt whatsoever.
Well, we've got a long way to go before that first pit window opens for pads. The pit window for the first fuel stop was well open. That happened at lap 2. Oh, there we go.
Oh, Anthony Tratton and John Faulkner. Round and round we go. Oh.
Lucky avoidance there by
really.
Darren Hossack and Terry Finnegan.
That gets back into the race by the look of it. But yeah, we've got lap 48 is when these cars can make their compulsory brake pad change. But the pits are open now, have been open since lap 2 for their fuel stops. But I think a lot of these teams are looking at that lap 48 margin because they want to get that brake pad change done. If they can combine that with their first driver change or their first fuel stop, it'll be very, very handy, particularly under safety car conditions.
Longhurst seems to have pulled clear of Russell, and Russell may be falling back just slightly towards the clutches of Mark Scaife.
Yeah, it does look a bit that way. It's see how Scaife just sitting back there, and basically it's as long as he doesn't, what Scaife would be, what, say 2 and a bit seconds behind Tander, so that's no major disaster, is it?
Well, yeah. Well, all you can do is basically sit in this leading pack and not go down a lap.
Yeah, you're right.
And wait for a safety car.
Mick Donoher and Tyler Mecklem. Donoher at the wheel at the moment in the new Ultra Tune TDK Commodore. That is the Commodore that Larry Perkins put on the front row at the last round of the championship at Calder Park. They bought it just after that, did a couple of laps of testing, and have made their Shell Championship Series debut in that VT at this round here at Queensland.
Stephen Ellery. Ellery's car sounds totally different to all the other Fords because he's got all the pipes. If you see on the left-hand side of the car, he's got all the pipes coming out.
It's got 4 pipes hanging out the left-hand side. Look at this.
Oh!
Donoher has come with Forbes, and Forbes is gone.
That could be
and Faulkner.
Could be our first safety car if he can't get out of the kitty litter. I think he's stuck there.
I'd say that's the end of that one.
He's giving it everything he's got to try and drive out. Faulkner's got clear. He didn't quite fall into the sand trap. Let's see if Forbes has been able to get his way out.
I don't think so. It looked like he...
Oh, he's still going.
He's still at it.
He's done it too.
Yeah, good move there.
Rodney's teaming up this weekend with John Cleland, former dual British touring car champion. Last won it in 1995 at Vauxhall. The likeable Scott is back in Australia. He's driving for the Wins team this weekend. Rodney was actually meant to be teaming up with Paul Morris, but Paul managed to acquire a brand new VT a couple of weeks ago, and that forced a bit of a driver reshuffle, if you like. And Cleland will actually join Rodney for Bathurst as well.
And also, when you see all the stones, I was just going to say, see all the stones coming. Oh, really? I didn't actually see a touch there. Don't know. Did you see a touch?
It's difficult. I think there was actually contact.
I think it's between the TDK car and there
it is. Yeah. I was going to say, with all the stones and that, what happens is really difficult because when they get back on the circuit, they go howling into the next corner, get on the brakes, and all the little marbles come out and cover the road, and sometimes it can bring you... Oh, boy!
That's Terry Finnegan.
Oh, Finnegan.
Second to the Kmart Commodores, Terry Finnegan and Darren Hossack. They've beached that big time.
Bury that baby. That's deep, isn't it?
And race director Tim Schenken made it clear in the driver's briefing that if a car gets stuck in one of these traps, they're going to get that safety car out there. So I'd be expecting something pretty soon.
Where is that? Is that the end of the straight? There it is.
Just off turn 1. Quite a fast corner. Lap 23 of 161. And they're miles out there. Just about got to the end of the trap and hit the concrete wall. So that's a major disappointment for the Kmart team.
Safety car is out on the circuit here for the Aussie Male 500, which is going to bunch things up nice and tightly at the front between Garth Tander, Tony Longhurst, who sits in second. Here is Glenn Seaton in 8th position in the Ford Tickford Racing Falcon.
Yep, well, this is what always happens. You can expect a few more of these happening today. Safety car periods. The car gets offline here. Some of these corners are quite quick, and when a car gets out of shape, they bury themselves deeply into those sand traps.
Stephen Johnson and his teammate Paul Radicic is now almost joining him. Great work from the Shell Helix team as we're back with live pictures from the Queensland Aussie Male 500.
Paul Radicic is a man on a mission. He's been hooked in here behind Glenn Seaton in the FTR Falcon for a number of laps now. Both running in the low 1 minute 12 second bracket, just like our race leader Tony Longhurst. So they're pushing very, very hard as they force their way through lap traffic. Tony Longhurst still leading this one. Garth Tander only half a second behind. This is the battle for 8th position. And Paul Radisich has done a remarkable job fighting back through the field here. Stephen Ellery is back in 13th. Oh, look how close it is here. He gets up the inside. Glenn Seaton gives him racing room, and Radisich takes another spot.
You've got to ask the question, how much longer can he keep this pace up? Radisich is really on the attack. Tander now with a quick one, a 1:11.69.
That's the fastest lap of the race. He just undercut Paul Radisich's quickest time, so it's coming down all the time. 1:11.69 on lap 45.
That's
so the
incredible.
pace, well, people were expecting the run in the mid-12s to 13s. This is an incredible pace here.
So here we go, the first of the big guns in for a pit stop.
Dean
Big
Canto.
guns, yep.
And Neil Bates, second of the Ford Credit Racing Falcons. Grant Denyer is on the spot. Let's see if they go for a pad change. Grant.
It's just going to be fuel and tyres at this stage, guys. They've got the pad sitting by. We'll have to wait and see. But Dean Canto's getting in, the young V8 Lights champion, only recently crowned at Mallala, and he is pumped to get in and replace Neil Bates. Of course, Dean won't be driving at Bathurst. Wayne Gardner will take over that seat then, but he is very excited about this opportunity. Just tyres and fuel at this stage. There is also a problem with the fuel pressure with this car, so they're going to have to top up the oil as well. So there is one slight concern with this car.
There are the boys topping up the oil in the catch tank system. They'll be losing a bit of oil out there. Always better off having a little bit too much than not enough. So they're just checking they've got the right fluids. This is going to cost them a lot of time. You can see on the Walker pit stop clock at the bottom of your screen there, this is getting up towards a minute, and this is, you cannot afford to drop this amount of time. Mark Larkham in too. The Mitre 10 Falcon is in pit lane. So they're all starting to come in. That was a critical time. Mark Larkham looks like he's staying in the car.
Now,
oh, hang on. What's going on here?
Yeah, something's happening here because Jeff Brabham is on standby. The boys are underneath the car looking all over it.
Oh, no, he's out. We heard that he was limping around, coming into the pits very slowly. Looks like a terminal problem here for the Mitre 10 Ford. Goodness me. Are they starting to fall? We've seen Brad Jones go out. Barry Jones, what's going on? Barry, what's going on?
I don't know. I'm just trying to see some of the guys. They all look a bit major disappointed at the moment. Gearbox problems, I think. Let's have a look in. Yeah, it's gear selector problems. I'll try and have a word with Mark if I can.
Rotten luck there for Mark Larkham. The highs and lows of motorsport. Can you believe it? The crash at Oran Park, the rebuild, came back for that victory in the second race at Calder Park, and now he is out of what I guess you could call his big home event here in Queensland.
Oh, it must be a crushing disappointment. When you've had a build-up like that, the team's been very confident, the car running very well. And you've been in that team environment many times, Kevin Schwantz. It must be terrible disappointment for all the boys involved.
It really is. You feel so bad when something happens, and either on a motorcycle when you crashed it or something happens mechanically to it, to come back into the pits and have to look at the guys and say, oh, it was my mistake, or if it was a mechanical problem for the team. Everybody really is hard on themselves at this level, and just want to do the best they can.
Here comes car 4. Craig Baird in 9th place, so they're all starting to file in now. 56 laps completed by our race leader, Tony Longhurst. When will he come in?
We hear the second of the Castrol Commodores has been in as well. Christian Murchison out, Luke Youlden in. Young Formula Holden champion, backed up last year's victory with another one. Very recently, Simon Wills has been driving for Barana Racing, the talented Kiwi. This is an all Kiwi outfit when you consider that it's being run by the Stone brothers. Craig Baird is out and Simon Wills in.
Good indication too. I think Tony Longhurst will probably be in very soon now. They're going to get one car out of the way. And we've got a problem here. People yelling out. 35 seconds gone. What's going on here? Paul Sepranich, the chief engineer there. No, looks like they had to push the car backwards. And now Simon Wills has stalled it. So that was a fairly clumsy stop from the Stone brothers. Here's our race leader, Tony Longhurst. Change over to David Bernard getting in. His baptism of fire in the Shell Championship Series. Walker pit stop clock tells the story. We'll keep an eye on this. Not sure if they're changing brake pads. Looks like they may be. There's plenty of frenzied activity going down in pit lane. David Bernard, the 23-year-old, returning from competition in the United States to fulfill a multi-year contract with the Stone Brothers team. And this is his first shot in anger in the Shell Series. Outstanding in the V8 Lights Championship. Now his big chance. 31 seconds. That was better.
In the meantime, Russell Ingall and Mark Scaife have stayed out. So Ingall now leads the way. Paul Radicic, because the pit stops are underway, has moved up into third position. There is Jason Bargwanna back out on the track. So trying to get confirmation of track position here for you. As they sweep their way around the Queensland Raceway. Here's been one of the stories of this race. Paul Wheel and Greg Crick. Is a big age difference between those guys. Just 21 years of age, young Paul Wheel, and 45 for the Tasmanian. Multiple Targa Tasmania winner Greg Crick, but they bring him back every year and bolt him in the K&J Ford, and he's immediately quick.
Well, here it is, car one. Mark Scaife and Paul Radicic coming in as well.
This could be quite a crucial stop for Paul Radicic when you consider that Stephen Johnson is out there cruising around with that problem. So we could have a real pit stop pandemonium scenario for the Dick Johnson racing team. McLean gets in and straps on the belts, the former Privateers champion. Radicic is already out. Lowndes getting strapped into the #1 Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. A pad change going on here as well. Scaife is out after a brilliant stint.
Saw the team practicing this yesterday. They went over and over and over. This team works very hard. They're like military grade in terms of their precision. And here comes Cameron McLean. Gets into Shell 18 car. He rejoins the battle.
And they got out just ahead of Craig Lowndes by the looks of things. There you are. Bargwanna sweeps through. Dave Bernard comes through as well. So we're waiting for all these positions to readjust courtesy of that pit stop.
Yeah, well, there's a battle here now. Bernard just sneaks inside in front of Lowndes. Oh, look at that, the car. Caltech's car gets very out of shape coming out of turn 2 as he tries to battle Craig Lowndes. Lowndes very quickly up to speed in car 1. They're going to go hard under brakes at the end of the back straight. They thread the needle inside the slower cars. Lowndes still in control. Bernard, though, wants to argue. They come out of turn 3, fire up toward the midfield section. So great battle here. Mark Scaife.
Well, that was the Dick Johnson dilemma. Fuel squirting out of the rear of his car. He's come back into the pits to solve the problem. And that has been an upset for the Johnson & Johnson pairing. You've done very, very well this afternoon in the Queensland Aussie Male 500. Of course, the star of the show has been Paul Radicic, their teammate in car 18, who handed over to Cameron McLean in a position where they can soon take the lead when Nathan Pretty makes his next pit stop. Just an update that round 12 of the Shell Championship Series will be at Sandown. That's a sprint round. And that is the 8th of October, an unusual situation, but we'll have that sprint round in between the two big Enduros. Here's the other one, the FAI 1000 at Bathurst, which will, of course, crown this amazing series in 2000. And this is how Dick Johnson sorted himself out and is back on the track now. As I mentioned, Pretty is the race leader, but not for long when he makes his pit stop. Cameron McLean in a great position in the other Shell Helix Falcon from Bargwanna, Lowndes. David Bernard in a great dice with Lowndes. Neil Crompton in 6th ahead of Matthew White and Greg Murphy.
Oh, no. That's the second of the cars. That's the Youlden Murchison car. I dare say that is Luke Youlden at the wheel at the moment in car 8.
I wonder where he's put that off. Well, here comes car 2. Nathan Pretty finally pitting. 69 laps completed. It was an incredible job. Very impressive fuel mileage too by the car 2 and the Holden Racing Team stable. Nathan Pretty has done a very good job for his first run with the team.
When you consider too, Mark, it's his first Shell Championship race, and he's led that race. On debut, we've had Paul Romano go out now. Is that Jamie Brock at the wheel there at the moment, I wonder? Indeed it is. So Brock has found the kitty litter.
We've got a safety car coming out on the track. Didn't have to be a crystal ball gazer to tell that one. There's 2 cars sitting off in the kitty litter, very much buried. So Cameron McLean takes advantage of that safety car period to get his pad change out of the way. That'll be a nice situation for the Shell team. You never want to do a pad change under green flag racing conditions. You lose too much time. Let's have a look at the Shell Helix replay. The K&J thermal car. No, it's behind him. This is the Romano Brock accident. Jamie Brock at the wheel. And he's bogged it. So just one of the cars is the Murchison Youlden Castrol Commodore.
Parking lot down there, isn't it?
First one into the sand.
as the man behind him tries to help Mark Scaife virtually shut down the Shell Championship Series right here in Queensland's Aussie Mail 500. There it is, 105 laps down, not too many to go, and we might still have a safety car out, we're not sure. Mick Donohue's car is off the track, Tyler Mecklin, his co-driver. We'll wait and see, but what a battle. It is in fact out now. Safety car, so Bargwanna gets a little bit of a rest, but Lowndes will be right on his tail when they get fast again.
We're going to try and do a quick pit stop and get you out.
That's the Holden Racing team, we believe, talking to Craig Lowndes, so he'll probably come in and take advantage of the fact that you
can
can
stay in, obviously, and you'll run to the flag.
He's going to stay. Okay. Oh, there we are. There's the stricken car.
Young Tyler Mecklin.
Set your bias for full tanks again, if you've adjusted it.
Set your bias for full tanks. Robbie Starr gives him the message. Going to take on a full tank of fuel.
No problem.
Adjust his anti-roll bars to set the car up again for that full tank, and he's going to make the run to the flag.
Well, this is going to be interesting. What will the Valvoline Cummins team do in response to that?
That's interesting. We understood that Mark Scaife was going to take the final stint. Now Craig Lowndes is going to take it right through. Safety car on the circuit.
You're going to have to drive straight through car 2's pit.
Well, it seems like Lowndes has come straight in.
Barry Sheen will be on the spot when he comes in. 60km/h strict pit lane speed limit. Over to you, Baz.
Yeah, he's just coming down now. Everything looks all right. He's just getting out of the way so I don't get anyone's way. Nice, clean old windscreen there. And Craig's not getting out because he hasn't. You have to do a minimum of 54 laps, so he hasn't done that. And he said he's quite comfortable in the car and can just keep going, no problem. I had a word with Scaife, and they said Scaife said everything's going according to plan, and they just really wanted to try and get past. Try and get past. Yeah, try and get past Bargwanna. So we've got the Kelly Preddy car in here now, and it's just a normal sort of 300 lap service and clean the windscreen, and no, can't see any dramas. They're spraying water in the radiator there because she might be running a bit hot. The rear right's does it? No, smooth as silk.
I believe the Valvoline Cummins car is going to come in pretty soon too. You'd expect that under a safety car period.
Just get George to look.
We welcome Dick Johnson to the commentary. Dick, the one-off comeback.
Thanks,
engine problems sort of cut it a bit short, didn't it?
Well, it's not the comeback that I really wanted, to be quite honest, but this is a very interesting scenario. That move by the HRT is going to win in the race. For the simple reason, the moment a pace car comes out, you should come straight in the pits on that very lap, and you should have followed him.
For the folks at home, you might want to explain the reason for that.
Well, the reason for that now is Tander comes in now, and he's going to end up being way back on the back of the pack, where young Craig is going to be well and truly up the field and be able to smoke through the others. And the other thing is, I noticed the other HRT car, it looks as though it's got the death notch by the look of the amount of smoke that's coming out of the right front wheel when it left.
Well, this could be a turning point in the race. Craig Lowndes remains behind the wheel of the Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. Now Dave Bernard makes his way in the Caltex.
See, that's wrong. He should have followed the lead car into the pits.
Well, tactics play a big factor, the winning factor in endurance racing. As the cars start coming now under safety car conditions, Caterpillar Ford in, Jim Richards putting in John Bowe, David Bernard steps out, puts Tony Longhurst back in for the final stint. We'll see the way the cards fall when these cars get back into this queue. The Holden Racing Team looking very well positioned at the moment. Grant Denye's in pit lane.
It's taking the opportunity of the safety car. The Cat car has come in. Jim Richards is handing over to John Bowe, the old wily gentleman of Australian top-level motorsport. This has to be one of the most experienced combinations in the whole field, and boy, are they quick. Jim Richards hasn't actually been in the car for 11 months, but he got in and went within half a second of John Bowe on Friday practice, so it's a fantastic effort. Brakes, tyres, fuel, done, and they're back out again.
So I've got to wait to see the way that these things fall as the cars unlap themselves, Dick.
That's quite interesting, because I'd really like to know how many laps some of these drivers have done, because they've got to do a minimum of 54 laps. And that's why Lowndes and company didn't get out of the car.
Well, something we're going to have to keep a very close eye on.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what we were saying. We've been doing our sums on. This is why Bargwanna stayed out there, because he hasn't fulfilled his minimum lap capacity. He's got to do 54 laps. So So he's going to have to stay out there till lap 109, and that's going to work against them because they're going back to green flag racing conditions.
Sounds like that might be the same reason Greg Murphy has stayed out there as well, in behind him in the Kmart Commodore.
Yeah, a lot of these co-drivers haven't fulfilled their minimum stint yet, which is 54 laps. One driver can only do 2/3 distance, maximum of 2/3 distance, so the co-driver has to fulfill at least 54 laps. As they get back to racing conditions, the Aussie Male 500 comes back to life. Jason Bargwanna, Greg Murphy right behind him in the Kmart Commodore.
How'd you believe the Pertec car pulled in the pits?
Right on the when they went back to green flag.
So that's a costly move for Simon Wills and the Pertec team. Let's go to Gary.
Jason Bargwanna continues to lead. Here's the Pertec Ford, which peeled off as the cars went back to green flag racing conditions. That's going to lose them a lot of track position. All sorts of tactics and things unfolding here. He gets back into the race, but he's lost a lot of time.
Let's go to Barry Sheen.
Yeah, I'm here with Gary Rogers. What's happening, Gary?
Oh, Barry, well, Jason hasn't done quite enough laps yet, so we couldn't bring him in because we intend to put Garth back in the car. I mean, it's unfortunate we're only too short, but that's the way it goes. But I think I'd be surprised if there's not a few pace cars between now and the end of the race anyway. I think there's a few of them starting to run out of brakes and a few things happening. And I think Garth fresh and Craig's already done half a race, but, you know, who knows? We're doing our best and we'll keep going.
Okay, best of luck, guys.
Thanks, Barry.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to unfold here. This race is not over by a long shot. 109 of 161. Jason Bargwanna continues to lead. He's got to do another lap before he can legally step out of that car. Garth Tander waiting in the wings to step back in for the final stint. They will be hoping and praying for a safety car period in the next few laps. Must be a nail-biting situation, Dick Johnson, when you're waiting for something to happen out there to bring that safety car on the course.
Well, it certainly is, and it really is the luck of the draw. It's quite amazing when you consider that there's so many different scenarios you can have in a race like this. You may be the fastest car on the racetrack, but you could come 10th.
Yep, just the way the flag, or the way the fortunes fall during the race.
It just shows you just how important tactics are in an event like this, when you have windows for brake pads and drivers and fuel and everything else. So it really does throw the cat among the pigeons.
And they have the right personnel on board that can read that and say, right, the time is now.
Oh, exactly. And you've got to be able to sort of call up on every single scenario you can possibly think of at the time.
Tony Longhurst back at the wheel of the Caltex Haviland Ford, and in the thick of it as well. In this middle part or horseshoe section of the track. Dave Bernard out of the car after that middle stint. Jason Bargwanna leads the way from Greg Murphy. Larry Perkins sits in third position just ahead of Cameron McLean. Lowndes in fifth, Neil Crompton sixth, but of course things are readjusting with all those pit stops we saw. Bargwanna yet, of course, to make that final stop that Gary was talking about. Gary Rogers, the team boss. It's been hot here today. Dick, has it been taxing for you?
Well, mate, for about 6 or 7 laps it was terrific. I felt quite okay, but I know that by the time you get 54 laps up, you know you've done half a day's work.
Hot conditions at Queensland Raceway as the field sort themselves out after that safety car period. We've just been doing our sums on David Bernard's stint behind the wheel. We're not sure, but the information we have, he may have stepped out a few laps too early as well. So we'll confirm that as the race goes on. The teams really have to watch those windows and those preset parameters in terms of what you can and can't do. Win or lose a race, for we've seen it happen many, many times. So we'll sort that out for you. But at the moment, Tony Longhurst charging in the Caltex Haviland Ford. Jason Bargwanna still leading this race. Still yet to make the second stop. Greg Murphy in behind him. Larry Perkins in third now. Cameron McLean in the Shell 18 Ford in fourth. Craig Lowndes in fifth. Neil Crompton. Saw the FTR Falcon drop way down the order, well into the rear of the top 20. He's now up to sixth position. And Adam Macro, that's a great drive in the Team Asia online car with John Faulkner, the youngster. He's up to sixth at the moment.
Alan Jones, the 1980 Formula One world champion, at the wheel of the Toll Express Ford that he's sharing this weekend with Anthony Tratt, currently sitting in 20th position. Drove for this team last season as well.
It should be interesting to see the Longhurst car or the Haviland car, because they're going to be really stretching it to get to the end on fuel, let me tell you.
He sits in 10th position at the moment, just behind Todd Kelly. Tim Lay ahead of them.
See, there's still about 50 odd laps to go, and you can get around about 60 to 61 laps out of the tank.
I was really surprised to see the mileage of that car too, the whole racing team car. I think they did 69 laps on that first stint.
Well, maybe they should have a look at it.
Car 7 continues. We hear from pit lane that the Valvoline Cummins team are all ready and armed, waiting for Jason Bargwanna to bring that car in. If they're going to have to pit under green conditions, that's really going to hurt them.
Well, when you notice the HRT cars, they do get very good economy because, by the sound of it, they run their rev limiter quite a bit lower than what you're allowed, and obviously that could save quite a bit of fuel.
There's the man who sits in second in the championship at the moment. 173 points adrift of Mark Skaife. That is Garth Tander, the 23-year-old from Western Australia, set to take over from Jason Bargwanna, our race leader. And this is going to be a costly stop, as Mark mentioned, under race conditions. Going to cost them a lot of track position.
Here's Larry Perkins fighting hard with Craig Lowndes. So Lowndes has actually just overtaken Perkins to take third place back. So Lowndes continuing showing good race speed. The Holden Racing Team Commodore, a 1:12.35. Here comes the Valvoline Cummins car. Our race leader peels off into pit lane. And what a rotten turn of luck so far for this team.
And I can tell you, it feels as though you're walking up pit lane doing 60k.
Yeah, but just imagine, isn't it amazing, Dick? Like, they could have had a safety car period a few laps later when Bargwanna could step out, and it could have been completely different. Barry's on the spot.
Yeah, I am. It's just like the coppers, isn't it? There's never one when you want one. It's yeah, it's Boggs is taking out his short wheelbase kit out the sea there and getting Garth tied in. It's, as you were saying, it's just such a waste. It seems such a waste of time, you know, when there's a safety car out, everything's fine. But, you know, what have you lost? You lost at least, what, 35, 40 seconds, I suppose. And that's some you win, some you lose.
Yeah, that's how races are won and lost. There is an enormous amount of tactics involved, but you can also need a play of luck. And it didn't work in the Valvoline Cummins team today.
He's coming out just in front of the Pertec car.
Garth Tander refreshed after his break. Long stint from Jason Bargwanna fulfilling his commitment. And he rejoins the track in 14th position, I think. Got a lot of work to do. They don't get a safety car before the end of this one, Dick.
They can kiss goodnight to this race.
Yep, they got the odds stacked against them. So Greg Murphy now takes over the lead. Craig Lowndes in second. Oh, there's the
John Cleland having a moment.
Forbes Cleland car, the wins Commodore. We saw it in trouble early in the race. Fortunately manages to get back into action.
John came over on Royal Brunei Airlines, who don't actually serve any alcohol on board the plane. And
was
John
pretty happy about that.
He was a little parched when he got here, he said.
Oh, all that dust.
I think it's BYI on those days.
So it continues. Scottish veteran Greg Murphy. Let's have a look at that on the replay. John Cleland getting in trouble at turn 6.
Yep. Just got the back brakes going, and that's what happened.
Seem to have that happens quite often in endurance races, Dick, is it because people try to run more rear brake to try and save the fronts, or what's going on there?
They've got to save the front brakes. At the same time, you've really got to be adjusting the brakes the whole time, because the fuel load gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So you're into the situation where you just keep winding the brakes off.
Well, Larry Perkins is making his way into the pits in the Castrol Commodore, and a moment there for Greg Murphy while we were speaking down at the final turn. He seemed to lock it all up. He gathered it up just in time, though. I don't know whether it was a moment of indecision about whether to pit or not, or whether it was a brake problem. He stays out there ahead of Craig Lowndes. Top left of your screen, you can see the pit stop going on for Larry Perkins. Let's go to Baz.
Yeah, it's Larry and Ari, and just looking, everything seems to be going okay. Wheels, yeah, no problem. 1 done, 2 done, 3 done, 4 done. Just waiting for the fuel to go in. And Larry's done a good job, hasn't he?
Certainly has. Russell was saying in recent time that his confidence is on a high after putting that Castrol Commodore on the front row of the grid recently. And this is John Bowe being caught rapidly by Garth Tander for third position, the Caterpillar Ford. Under attack from the 23-year-old from Western Australia.
Tander's been storming through.
He's got a little bit of paper there on the radio. I don't think that's probably enough to bring up the water temperature too much.
Well, he'd
still plenty of air getting in there.
Oh, what's going on here? Car 2 in trouble.
It's got smoke coming out the back there. That's the end of that.
They have parked it. Now,
that's bad luck for those guys.
You can see Jeff Grech, the Holden Racing team manager's looking at his car, sitting there
in dismay
at the end of the pit lane, smoke pouring from it. What's happened there, Murph?
Is that smoke or steam? That looks like...
Could be steam.
That's an engine then, obviously, because I think that's coming out the exhaust.
Look at that.
Which means it's got water going into the engine, so that's steam, it's not smoke.
Yeah, there's no smoke there, you're right.
And the dejected 20-year-old Todd Kelly walks away from the car.
Well, they were heading for what looked like a very strong 1-2 finish. He waves to the crowd in acknowledgement.
Now, Todd will be very hard on himself too. He'll take this really badly. He's a great little driver. He's done a super job today.
But that couldn't be his fault, surely.
No, I doubt it very much.
So, Shell Helix replay. Looking up the back of the Kmart Commodore.
This is the battle between the Steve Richards and Russell Ingall. Russell having a good look down the outside. Steve covering his line. Oh, that's can't get any closer than that.
The nose inside.
Drag race now between the Enforcer and Stephen Richards up towards turn 4. Despite that problem with the...
And Russell just dives to the inside and then looks to the outside.
Oh!
Whoa! Has a bit of a lock-up. If he hadn't got off the brakes there, he would have definitely hit Steve, so that was lucky.
Fantastic battle. Stephen Richards and Russell Ingall fighting over 4th place.
Now Tander has gotten around John Bow, so position swap there.
Tander in the 2nd place.
Yeah, that puts him up to 2nd. Goodness me. That's amazing the way things can turn around. He was so far back in the pack after having to make that final pit stop under green flags. Now he's up to 2nd place.
Your pace car would be good right now, wouldn't it?
Oh.
What would be going through Jeff Grech's mind at a time like this after what's happened to Todd's car? Let's in fact go to Baz and try and find out.
Jeffro, what's happening? Are you worried?
We're always worried, Barry. Look, car 2 obviously has had some sort of engine failure. We lost radio control about 30 laps ago, so we don't know quite what it is, but you know, the poor kid's a bit disappointed, so we'll just let him console himself. Done a fantastic job. I mean, he was running 2nd, and really, to us, he's done the job. So.
Well, it's not his fault the bloody thing's blown up.
No, that's what I mean. You know, he's just got to be proud of himself that he's done the best job for the team, and we just something's gone wrong. We just got to when we get a chance.
Oh, what about number 1 car? No problems so far?
No. He obviously we're in radio communication there. He's fine. We just told him to nurse it and bring it home, and hopefully, fingers crossed.
No swearing at the end, Jeff?
No. I'm past all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I believe you. Best of luck anyway, Jeff.
All right, thanks, Barry.
You can see the disappointment there on the face of the team manager. That was an incredible problem so late in the race for the Holden Racing Team Commodore. And look at this battle continuing between Stephen Richards and Russell Ingall over 4th place. But that now moves Garth Tander up to 2nd. And in terms of this absorbing Shell Championship Series battle, that's going to keep it well alive as we go through to the final 2 rounds at Sandown in the FAI 1000.
A bit of lap traffic up in front of John Bow here as well, so that's...
the gap's come down between Steve Richards and John Bow too, so these two are catching up very quickly.
John Bow, his lap times are 1:12.66 there, 12:52 for Craig Lowndes. Tander at 12:54, so there's barely 0.02 of a second between the lap times of our 1st and 2nd place man, but the critical thing here is Tander is 37 seconds behind Craig Lowndes on the road. Now a safety car here for the final sprint to the flag would be amazing. What an incredible finish to the Queensland Aussie Mail 500. So Holden Racing Team will have their fingers crossed there'll be no safety cars. And a little bit further up the pit lane, they'll be praying for one.
No doubt Gary Rogers would be doing that right now, Mark. Hoping for one.
Bit of pacing going on in the Valvoline camp, I think.
Lowndes comes across the start-finish line to put another lap down. What a marvellous performance, and you'd expect nothing less from Lowndes, despite all this media hype and speculation about where the kid is going to be in season 2001. He puts it behind him, leaves it back in pit lane or the paddock, if you will, and just gets on with the job of driving, man.
Yeah, he does. He's a full professional, and Lowndes, he doesn't let anything like that get to him. He's got a few problems to sort out, but he's a race driver at the end of the day, and get in the race car and do the job properly, and he'll never do anything but 110%.
Paul Radicic digging deep. 16 laps remaining in the race. He's just on a 1:12.1. Very fast times for this late in the day.
Battling away with Glenn Seaton here for 7th position on the road, and the Rat has got it. They're drag racing down the front straight here at Queensland Raceway, but the Rat will have the inside running into turn 1.
Takes 7th position away from Seaton. John Bowe, meanwhile, between the battle between Stephen Richards and Russell Ingall over 4th place. Caterpillar Ford's had a quiet, very consistent run throughout the day. Find himself 3rd. Good performance for the Queensland-based team. Radicic comes under attack. Seaton wasn't going to put up with that. These two Fords are going to go side by side out of turn 3.
I don't think Paul was expecting that one, that's for sure.
He had the door nice and wide open, but Seaton came back on the attack. Let's go down to Baz.
Yeah, I'm with Todd Kelly. Todd, that's really bad luck.
Oh, it is. I don't actually know what happened to the car. We're obviously running very, very consistent. I think we would have done it quite easy. It's definitely no fault of the guys. They all done a fantastic job. It's just a shame that it happened to us.
Did it sound expensive?
I don't know. It sounded like the engine, but I won't know till the guys get back. I tried to carry on for half a lap, but I wouldn't have completed the rest of the race. So I just pulled over.
Other than that, it was running all right until no temperatures going up or anything like that?
Understandably, it was a little bit hot, but that could have contributed to it. But obviously, we weren't in a position to slow down, so I just had to press on and hope that it would hang together. Unfortunately, it didn't.
No, really bad. You've had a really great year anyway, so it can only get better.
Oh, definitely. It's good training ground for Bathurst. Me and Nathan seem to join up together quite well, so we're looking forward to it.
Right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, it should be a strong combination. Holden Young Lions entry, the 3rd of the Holden Racing Team entries at Bathurst, when Todd Kelly and Nathan Pretty team up. They've both done a very good job today. Shame they had to fall victim to mechanical failure, but they've certainly held their heads high in the absolute pinnacle of competition in Australian motorsport. Could do a good job at Mount Panorama in November.
Awesome battle going on between John Bowe, Stephen Richards and Russell Ingall, 3rd, 4th and 5th on the road at the moment. And Stephen Richards is only 0.4 of a second in behind John Bowe. Russell Ingall right on the tail of Stephen Richards. That battle's been going on for quite some time now. We're watching Paul Radicic after Glenn Seaton. Radicic in 8th, Seaton in 7th position in the Aussie Male 500. What goes through a driver's mind at a time like this, Murph? Talk us through what Steve would be thinking
Here
about.
are these 3 here, and this is for 3rd place. Really, this is a pretty important thing to get onto the podium here. So, you know what Russell's like, you know what he's thinking. Mad as a meat axe. Bowie, well, who knows what he's thinking. I know what Richo's thinking. He's thinking get this thing to the finish. But also, he's trying to get around those 2 corners, and it's really, really struggling to do that and get a good pace through those 2 turns. He's losing a lot of time, and that's making him have to obviously cover Russell, who's behind him, and also try and still get John. And we know what John's like trying to get past.
They come across the start-finish line. This time there will be 4 laps remaining in the Aussie Male 500. Stephen Richards sits in 3rd. You can see the enforcer there, up to around 230 kilometres an hour they get at the end of the straight there. The enforcer in 4th, Stephen Richards in 3rd. Here is Craig Lowndes.
We're just checking our point situation at the moment. If they finish the way they are, Scaife will be on 1,296 points. Tander will be on 1107. So the championship's still alive going into Sandown. But the HRT looking pretty commanding at the moment.
Tander is getting a little sideways on the exit of turn 3 there. As we count down towards the finish, he'd be hearing absolutely everything in that car, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, you know, this is the position they were in last year as well, and Garth's doing a great job. I'm sure he's too professional now to be worried about those little things, but you know, you're really wanting the end of the race to come now. You're probably over it by this stage. Last few laps don't seem to come fast enough. That piece of paper's still stuck in there, but it's obviously not causing them any problems. The water temper of the car is still pretty much the same. So Steve and Russell go past another car, complete another lap with only a few to go. I'm getting a bit anxious here, boys.
Oh, we might let you go, in fact, because you're on course for a podium position at the moment, so you might have to duck downstairs very shortly.
Yeah.
So, Greg Murphy, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, guys.
And best of luck. Hope you're on the podium at the end there, mate.
Cheers.
Given a great race, Greg Murphy and Stephen Richards still hard at it in the Aussie Male 500. Let's have a look at this Shell Helix replay. Super Cheap Autos car loops it at turn 3. but I think he managed to stay out of trouble. Time running out, 36.3 seconds the gap between first and second. Here's car 35, the Tim Lay Greg Ritter car. A bit further down the order.
Position 9 at the moment in car 35. These two youngsters, Ritter last year's Formula Ford champion, and Tim Lay, who's spent the bulk of the season in Formula Holden, has had a bit of an up and down year, but did very well in the Winton round of the championship. Ironically, his dad runs a Ford dealership in Orange. Tim's at the wheel of a Holden. Apparently the Ford boys in Orange have been giving him a wind-up about that.
I bet they have.
He's loving his time, though, with the Valvoline Cummins team.
Down the back straight, time running out for our race leader, Craig Lowndes. He's only got a couple more to go. Simon Wills at the wheel of the Pertec Falcon. I'm not sure if they got their driver strategy wrong there in the Stone Brothers team, but they came in for a driver change very late in the race.
Simon is back at the wheel of the Ford there. So that was costly. The reigning and newly crowned Formula Holden champion, backing up last year's victory. Youngster from New Zealand who is hopeful of stepping up to V8 Supercar racing next season. And what about this for a story? The Challenge recruitment team, Terry Wyhern and Matthew White. Looks like Wyhern's still at the wheel of that car in 11th position. Yep. Started out of grid position 20.
That's the car that, it gets very sideways coming through the midsection. Maybe the tyre's getting a bit second-hand by now. This is the car that Matthew used to good effect in the Konica V8 Light Series this year to finish second. It's the ex-Larry Perkins Russell Ingall car. Bathurst winner, in fact, from 1997. Still doing the goods a few years down the track. 2 laps remaining for our race leader, Craig Lowndes.
Dave Bernard sits in 8th position in the Caltex Haviland Ford. Despite that, Mark, it's been quite a good debut for him in the Shell Championship Series. Stunning in terms of his pace in qualifying and practice.
High pressure situation. I don't think they got the strategy quite right today. Well, no one got the strategy as good as these guys. They just blitzed them. Fantastic calling Lowndes in as soon as that safety car came out. Got him, left him in the car. There was no driver change to do. Despite all the hullabaloo about this man, his relationship with the Holden Racing team and where he's going in 2001, he's certainly done the business for them today.
26-year-old who grew up in Melbourne, these days resides in Brisbane, splits his time between here and testing duties with the Holden Racing team. He is on his way home, Craig Lowndes, and on course to take out the Aussie Male 500. Last season he finished in 3rd position with Cameron McConville. And now he and Scaife have partnered together for this race, and they are set to take it out. He's even waving to the crowd there down the back straight. What a fantastic career this guy has had. Started out in kart racing at 9 years of age. He's campaigned successfully in Formula Ford, had a brief stint in Formula 3000 overseas, has won 3 Shell Championship Series for this team. And of course, teamed up with Greg Murphy to win Bathurst in 1996. And now another endurance trophy awaits Craig Lowndes.
The critical thing is this keeps Mark Scaife at the head of the Shell Championship Series battles. We've got 2 rounds remaining. We go to Sandown. Another sprint round before we go to Bathurst. And this battle between Valvoline Cummins and Holden Racing team looks like it's going right down to the wire.
We talked about it at the top of the show. The engineering might and the organisational nous of the Holden Racing team, coupled with 2 of the best drivers in the business, Mark Scaife and Craig Lowndes. They win the Aussie Male 500 in Queensland. Well done, and well done to the Holden Racing team. There's Mark Scaife, helping his bid in terms of winning the 2000 Shell Championship Series. Fantastic performance, Jeff Greg.
Not allowed to do burnouts either, mate. They set up the screen at those driver's seats.
Just getting a warning there not to do any post-race burnouts for the fans. But a marvellous performance. Here's Garth Tander. He's hanging on to 2nd position. Stephen Richards there in 3rd. And the Enforcer are battling all the way to the finish line. A marvellous performance for the minor placings on the podium. Tander and Bargwana 2 years in a row. They have finished in 2nd position. Stephen Richards finishes in 3rd with Greg Murphy. And after the horrors of last year for the Wins Racing team, the Kmart Commodore is on the podium. Gee, they have an exceptional record when it comes to endurance races, that team. An outstanding result. And Radicic got Seaton there on the line, just on the line. So Radicic moving through to 5th position. What a story that's been as well. Dropping back to 31st after that stop-go penalty and recovering for 6th position. Sensational effort. There's the Rat from New Zealand. A fantastic fight back. But the man of the moment is Craig Lowndes. He has taken out the Aussie Male 500 along with co-driver Mark Scaife. There he is, a 26-year-old, teaming up with a 33-year-old. That's a much-needed endurance race win for Mark Scaife as well. Keep in mind he won the Adelaide 500 this year, but prior to that it had been a long time between drinks for Scaife. And so too for Lowndes in terms of endurance race wins. The Aussie Male 500 is theirs in 2000. Let's go to Baz.
Way to go, Scaife.
Just unbelievable, Baz. I mean, today was one of those real team strategy races, and we were being held up by the Valvoline car, and as it turned out, we were going to bring Craig in at that time. He hadn't done enough laps, and we come in and got a safety car. I mean, that's how it is, but the car was fantastic, unbelievably good.
Winning all these races can't just be luck, can it?
Well, it can't just be luck, but I mean, the car consistently, I mean, Craig did an 11.6 on the second last lap, so it's a pretty good toy.
So you look quite happy?
Well, I am quite happy. I mean, it's obviously fantastic for the championship, but just unbelievably good. I better go and find my mate.
Right. Done, well done.
Yep, that tells a story, doesn't it? Mark Scaife delighted, and there is Lowndes greeting the crowd. He throws his arms around the team. There's Scaife. A wonderful, wonderful result for the Holden Racing team. And it really has been a team effort when you consider the tactics in this race and how they approached it. There's Craig's wife, Natalie, coming to congratulate him as well. He throws his arm around her. That's terrific.